What's happening, guys? We are back at it, and I got a new toy put on the boat, the Humminbird Mega Live Target Lock. And we're going to go out here and see if it does exactly what it's supposed to. When I did my research on it, there was one thing that I felt like would be a negative, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But we're going to talk about some positives, we're going to talk about some negatives, and I have a couple negatives right off the bat, and that's without putting it in the water. And the first one I think could actually be fixed. The first thing is that when I was driving back, I'm looking in the rear view and I can see it just bouncing like crazy. On my 360, I had a stabilizer, and that was just with the bracket for the 360. Now with the target lock and the 360 bracket, that bracket doesn't work anymore, so you have to get a little bit longer of one. I have that coming in, and I actually have a stabilizer for the target lock, so maybe that prevents it from bouncing around, but it does move a lot. I don't know if you can see this from right here, but it does move quite some bit. And hopefully that stabilizer works, it doesn't void a warranty or whatnot, and maybe it doesn't slow it down. And slowing down actually brings me to number two. When I was watching a lot of these videos, I'm sitting there watching it, and the first thing that I wanted to kind of witness and see is that if that target lock was going as quick as the foot pedal. If you guys know any live scopers out there, you know, they're very, very good, and they're really good with that pedal, and it moves quick and you can find targets real quick. But I feel like that may have a lag to it. So I'd see the trolling motor turn, and then that would turn, this would turn, and then that would turn, this would turn, and then it would slowly turn. I don't know if an update kind of fixed that to where it moved a little bit quicker, but we'll see out here on the water today. And the main goal is to see if we can find a target, go around the target, and if that locks on the target, and catch some fish on top of that. So let's go check it out.
All right. So let's see. All right, so the first thing I noticed is that my 360 actually needs to be turned. I can't see it too well, but I'm not really worried about it right now. I'm more so worried about the target lock. We got to get the foot pedal out. Let's see. There it is. So now that I'm looking at it, you can see the lag. Now, if I'm on fish or not, does it really matter? Is it going to affect us? But you can see that as the trolling motor turns, the target lock will turn, and it's a little behind. It's very smooth. It's very smooth. The sweeping looks really good. But we'll get back in this creek here and maybe see if we can lock onto something and catch some fish. But as of right now, it is working. It is working. So what I'm doing right here is going to the Mega Live and the accessories, clicking over, and it says target lock foot pedal, which is this right here. So this is going to be when you lock on. When you see something on Mega Live and you want to lock it on, you would just push that right there. Now this button right here is a network button, and you can have it at anything right here. Well, not necessarily anything, but Minn Kota steer. So when the trolling motor steers, that's going to steer. You can have it at a waypoint. So if you push this button, it's going to create a waypoint for you. Mega Live pinging. So like if you want it on or off. And then home. I guess it will go line straight up. And then you can have it in the sweep mode. I actually want it to be in the Minn Kota steer. So I want to be able to use my foot pedal to go back and forth to try to locate fish and structure. And then when I do locate that structure, I'm going to be able to go ahead and hit that target lock button right here, locked on, and make those accurate casts. So let's go check it out. So far, it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to. It feels okay. All right, so I'm going to point it at this tree right here. Let's see. Right there, I'm gonna hit the target lock, then I'm gonna hit spot lock and see what it does. All right, so I'm seeing those fish. It's stuck on the target. So we're on the target right here. I hit it on there. The boat is turning. You can see the back end is swinging around. We're still locked on that target. Still locked on it. We're going to swing around this way because this is the way the wind's blowing. And you can see the target lock is still pointing directly toward the back of the boat, which is right where that target is, where that piece of structure is. So it's locking on really well. It's locking on. So it definitely locks on. All right, let's hit the, it's gonna turn back around. I hit it back to the Minn Kota steer. So now it's trying to line back up with that. We're gonna turn this way just a tad bit. We're gonna line up on this piece of structure. We're gonna hit that target lock and we're gonna make a couple casts. Looks like a good piece of structure right here. Right there, let's hit that lock. All right, so we locked onto that piece of structure about 60 feet out. We'll hit this spot lock. That's gonna hold us. Now the thing is gonna be to, let me see, trying to adjust to the little arrow right here instead of the trolling motor. We'll see. Yeah, see how we're scooting up now? It's still locked on there. The boat has turned. We drifted up a little bit too. And it's still locked on, which is awesome. But like I said, it's probably going to be a little difficult to try to figure out the arrow of the target lock. So let's see if we can make a cast into it. I'm not seeing it down, but that has nothing to do with the target lock. That has everything to do with my settings. But I feel like I'm seeing the splash. We're still locked onto the target, which is cool. That's exactly what we wanted. But you also want to be able to see where your bait landed, because if you land it, you know, obviously at 40 feet and the, you know, the structure's at 50, you want it to fall down into, you know, that structure. Try to make an accurate cast. Might need to get a little closer to it. It might help out a little bit, I don't know. But I'm not seeing my bait. I know I'm throwing it in the right direction. I'm gonna let it sink down just a little bit more. All right, we're gonna run to another spot. We're gonna run upriver. Hey, pad the remote. That was easy enough. So the arrow's straight, and I pulled the trolling motor up to see the target lock, to see if the arrow is matched up with the Mega Live, and it looks perfect. I mean, I couldn't imagine it not being perfect. There's only one slot for the Mega Live to fit on there to line up with that arrow right there. But man, your cast has to be so perfect. When I was on, or when my Mega Live was on the trolling motor, like it could be different. Like it didn't matter if it was a little to the right or a little to the left, you'll still see the bait. But like you have to be spot on with that, and it's just a little hard to kind of get used to right now. I mean, I'm not going to get it over 1 hour of out here, you know, fishing, but it does seem a little difficult, but it's definitely doable. The panning back and forth, like I said, is delayed just a tad bit, but I mean, I'm never moving it super quick, but it does catch up. It does catch up, but it's not as fast as if I was panning this way, pan that way, pan this way. As you can see, the trolling motor moving way quicker than the target lock, but it still locks on targets. It does a very good job. It's just going to take some time to get used to. Do I feel like I need it? I really want it. I want to use it a little bit more just to feel comfortable with it and know that it does work really well. But the one downside about it is that when it is locked on and you make a cast and you're a little to the left or you're a little to the right, like when you try to use the trolling motor to see where your bait is to locate it, it doesn't do that because it's located, or I'm sorry, it's locked onto the structure. It's not locked onto your bait. Not that it's ever locked onto your bait, but when you have it on the trolling motor, like you can pan a little bit back and forth to find your bait. If it's over here just a tad bit, you can see it and you can still see the structure. But once that's locked on the one location and your bait's over here and it's out of sight, like you can't see it, which makes it a little difficult, you know. And it's very frustrating. I got really good with just my trolling motor and my forward facing sonar, to where, you know, this is definitely new. It's lagging just a little bit, and it's kind of frustrating because you want it to work perfect, but nothing's perfect. It just takes practice. What would be neat is to have a Mega Live on the unit to get on the structure, and then use a Mega Live on the trolling motor to pan back and forth to find your bait. That would be pretty neat, to where if you were using the trolling motor, you could still make that accurate cast and use that spot lock on that piece of structure. So that may be a thing. Get a Mega Live for the trolling motor to scan a little bit quicker. You can actually probably turn the pinging off with just the button on the remote on the lock, or the spot lock, not the spot lock, the target lock, and then use this, and then, you know, have it on different screens right here, to where, you know, this may be on the bottom, that may be on the top, and vice versa. It may be a little tedious, but, you know, it might be something that, you know, I could do in the future. Use the trolling motor more so for scanning really quick and finding those suspended fish, to where I just specifically use the target lock for structure. But it's been pretty neat. You know, it's going to take some time to get used to. But we're going to go try to find another location and try to catch some fish real quick before the sun goes all the way down. Got him. He come on. They up here. There we go. Got our first crappie. Feels pretty warm too. There he is, first crappie on our target lock. We've seen a bunch of fish. We talked about the positives and the negatives. But as long as you have it on the Minn Kota steer, you know, the trolling motor can still steer the target lock and it will follow it. But like I said, when you're locked on a target, it stays there.
So if your bait is off to the left or off to the right a little bit and you typically pan to find it and still see the structure, you can't do that. So it makes it very, very difficult. Is it doable? Yeah. Do I like my other way better? Yes, I do. Just because I'm used to it. And just like anything, man, if it's different, it takes time to get used to. But it's been pretty neat so far. We hooked into a pretty good spotted bass earlier. He got off at the boat. But we found a new piece of structure, which is always cool when you come out to your favorite body of water. You find a new location, you see fish on it, just like we did right there. You know, it's always good. Mark it, come back and fish it. See if we can get another one real quick. Oh, another really cool feature that it has is that if you have the shared wake point management, and I think maybe it's just with the target lock, is that when you see a piece of structure on your forward facing sonar on your Mega Live on that screen, you can actually toggle over with your arrows, click on that piece of structure and mark a wake point. We just did that there, so that was pretty neat too. I don't think you can do that unless you have that target lock. I'm not really sure, I'm not positive, but when I seen somebody installing it and talking about all the features, that was one feature that they mentioned. So we were able to do it. Little guy. We got him. Ooh, little guy. But we appreciate you. So, I was talking about hitting that target lock, and if your cast is off just a tad bit, it was kind of hard to kind of find your bait or to see where your bait was going, but the target lock was still locked on that target. The one thing that I could probably do is pull the little pedal out and hit back and forth just a little bit to try to find it. So, I could probably use that pedal once I hit that spot lock. So, it takes time, like I mentioned, but the target lock is super sweet. It's got tons of awesome options. I also got this little remote too with it, to where if I'm using the foot pedal, instead of trying to take my foot off, I can just hit it right here and have it locked on, or hit the bottom button, the network button, to get it back to the Minn Kota steer and use that trolling motor to steer it around. But all in all, it's pretty neat. It's really neat. But like always, guys, if you have any comments, leave them down below. If you have any tips about how I can get better at it, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And I always appreciate coming along. Continue to follow Bassn Buddy, and I'll see you next time. Peace.